Okay, so we're back, and now we are interested in doing a little bit more navigating and selecting and actually entering in data on this big worksheet called Navigating and Selecting. So you'll notice here that I have average and total, right? So in what I want to do here is calculate the average for this row and also the total, so the summation along that row. All right, so there's lots of different ways to do this. Let's do summation. Let's do total, right? So I'm in cell C9. And to enter in a formula, you start with equal, right? Sum does a summation, and it wants all the numbers. So if I come over to here, right, then I can drag the mouse, but that takes forever, right? We know that I can get all the way to the other end by hitting Control right arrow. So if I try that, what's going to happen? It only selects that very last one. So up here in my formula bar, I see sum BB9. Right? That's not what I want. I actually want the sum of E9 all the way through BB9. So what we can do instead is hold down the Control key, hold down the Shift key, and then the right arrow. Now I see that I have the range that I want, E9 through BB9. I can finish it off with a closed parenthesis and hit enter. And we see that the total is 29,0557. Right? Now I want to do this for all 1,000 rows that I have of data. All this other stuff was the headers and stuff. You may be aware of a thing called autofill, which is when you take your mouse and you point it towards the lower right hand corner, it changes from that plus sign that looks like the white cross symbol to a black plus sign. And if I go to this part and I drag it down, it'll autofill it in for me. Right? Again, I want to try to avoid using the mouse as much as possible. I can do a lot of things faster with the keyboard. Here, in theory, I could also double click and it would fill in all the way down. That only works if the stuff to the left of it is already filled in. Right? So what we'd like to be able to do is fill in all of the average column for all 1,000 for each row, for each of 1,000 rows. All right? At the same time, can we do that? Yeah, we can. What we're going to do is first we need to be able to select all of these cells and then enter in a formula and make it go to all of the cells at the same time. So in theory, I can hold down Control Shift down arrow key. Oh, there's no data, right? So it goes beyond where I want it to go, which is just the yellow highlighted part. So how do I do it? Well, that happens because there's an empty column here, right? So what I can do is go over to one of the columns that has data in it, so column E, and hold down. What I'm going to do is go Control down arrow to get to the bottom, and then Control left arrow or just the left arrow until I get to column B. Right now, what I do is I do Control Shift up arrow. I have one too many cells selected, so hold down, let go of the Control key, hold down the Shift key, and do one down arrow keystroke. So now I have selected cells B9 all the way through B1008, those 1,000 rows. Then what I do is I do equal. Notice it's putting the formula down in row 1008. And the formula to find the average is simply average, right? And I want it for that row, for row 1008. So I mouse over. I use just the right arrow key without pushing anything down. Now I do Control Shift right arrow to get all the way to the end of the data. I do Shift parenthesis, close parenthesis, but do not hit enter yet. What you need to do now, once you have this like this, is hold down, is do Control Enter. So hit Control Enter. Now if I go back over and see what happens, what happened? Look at that. Now look at it as I go up the formula bar here, in the formula, all right, and I see that it worked. It's changing the average as I go down each row. So to get the same formula or value into multiple cells, I have those cells selected, I put it in what I want, and then I hit Control Enter. Now for the total, right, I have the sum already over here. Now I can do this autofill feature. I'm going to move to the bottom right hand corner and just do double click. It went down to there because I had these other things filled in. So let me get rid of those, and let's see if I can now go to the bottom right hand corner and double click. I do, and look at that. It's the row numbers are changing as they should, and we go all the way to the bottom and we see that it filled in all the way. All right. So if we have that space in between, that column, empty column in between, those are some easy ways to fill in a bunch of data at the same time. Now, what do we want to do about the stuff at the top? So we want average and total again. This time, though, we want it over the columns. So what we can do is, again, we can pick, we want to pick the entire part of yellow, but if I come up into the beginning of the yellow and hit Control Shift right arrow, it goes all the way to the end, which doesn't help me. So again, I have to go down below to where the data is, hit Control Enter to get to the end of it, go up, and let's do this one, and then Control Shift Enter. So I picked the average. It went too far. That's okay. Let go of the Control key, hold down the Shift key, and right arrow 2 times. Now I'm just in that. Notice when I this little tooltip right here that pops up, it tells me how many columns I have. So it's 50 columns, right, that I have, and by 1,000 rows. So now again, if I want to do this, I do equal average. I pick what I'm trying to average. In this case, it's the column down below. So I go down to the first number, Control Shift down arrow key, close parenthesis, and then Control Enter. And then let's see what happens. Looks like I got the averages for all of the right columns. Now again here, I can do equal sum, come down, Control Shift Enter, close the parenthesis, and hit Enter, and it just does the total for that particular column. Right. So now if I try to autofill, notice it doesn't. I can drag it to the right, but that doesn't really help me very much, right? Because I have to drag it 50 columns. So probably the easier thing to do, right, is to come back over here and select the entire yellow cells that I'm interested in, equal sum, come back down, Control Shift Enter, close the parenthesis, Control Enter, and then we see that our totals are filled in properly. Now these two numbers look very, very similar. They're off by, right, the average, we have 1,000 rows, so it's going to move the decimal over 3 places, right, compared to the bottom one. So that's why those numbers look so much alike. All right. So let's stop at this point for this one.